Today we start a new unit, harmonic oscillator. This model of harmonic oscillator is very important in physics. It appears in different areas of physics. So let me quote from the second edition of Mechanics by Klöckner. The harmonic oscillator underlies the creation of sound by musical instruments, the propagation of waves in media, the analysis and control of vibrations in machinery and airplanes, and the timekeeping crystals in digital watches. Furthermore, the harmonic oscillator arises in numerous atomic and optical quantum scenarios. In quantum systems such as lasers, and it's a recurrent motif in advanced quantum field theories. Okay. In short, if there were a competition for a logo for the universality of physics, the harmonic oscillator would make a pretty strong contender. So he even suggests that if we have to think up of a logo for physics, then harmonic oscillator can be a symbol for physics itself. Okay, because it is so widespread, so ubiquitous in physics. So it's a very important model, this harmonic oscillator. So let us start by reviewing some basic results in harmonic oscillator, some basic terminology in harmonic oscillator. You have already studied an ideal harmonic oscillator as an application of Newton's laws of motion. By ideal, I mean without any friction. Okay, that means no damping forces are present. In other words, we can call it undamped harmonic oscillator. Start with a basic prototype of a harmonic oscillator. There is a spring, a massless spring, and a mass m is attached to it. Okay. Suppose this is on a smooth frictionless table, and when you displace this mass and release, it undergoes oscillations, harmonic oscillations. Okay, this is a basic model. Then the force acting on this mass is the spring force or elastic force or restoring force. We can say it is minus kx, where k is the spring constant or force constant of this spring, and x is the displacement from the equilibrium. Okay, so you can if force is this, we can write Newton's second law, m x double dot. X double dot means d square x by dt square, second derivative with respect to time, is equal to minus kx. So if we take all the terms to the left side and divide throughout with m, we can write this as x double dot plus k by m into x is equal to 0. Okay, now let us put this k by m is equal to, we know that this k by m is equal to or square root of k by m is equal to angular frequency. So let omega 0, I am using the symbol omega 0 for this, square root of k by m. Okay, earlier you have used omega for square root of k by m, but now let us use omega 0 for that. This is the angular frequency. This is called angular frequency. Okay, so we can write this as x double dot plus, this is omega, k by m is omega 0 square, x is equal to 0. Now this is called the equation for simple harmonic motion, if we the differential equation for simple harmonic motion. And you have studied its solution also. Its general solution we can write as x is equal to some constant b, yeah, sine omega 0 t plus some other constant c cos omega 0 t. So sine omega 0 t can be a solution, cos omega 0 t can be a solution. So a general solution can be a linear combination of these two. Okay. So this much we have studied in Newton's, as an application of Newton's law of laws of motion. So this is clear. Now let me try to rewrite this as in a standard form. So in this unit we will use a standard form for the solution like this. X is equal to some constant a cos omega 0 t plus another constant phi. Okay, we will give proper names to these constants, but for the time being let us understand that in the solution, let us say, okay, I will call this equation as equation 1, equation 2 and equation 3. In equation 2 it's a solution at any time t. In equation 2 as well, equation 3 is also solution of equation 1 at a general time t. Now in equation 2 as well as in equation 3, you have two unknown constants in equation 2, b and c. In equation 3 also you have two unknown constant a and phi. Okay, so we have just rewritten equation 2 in another form, that's all. Okay, so in order to understand the relationship between these two constants, we can expand equation 3. Okay, we know this result, cos alpha plus beta is equal to cos alpha cos beta minus sin alpha sin beta. It's an identity. Therefore cos omega 0 t plus phi, if you expand it, we get cos omega 0 t cos phi minus sin omega 0 t sin phi, right? So this, if you compare this equation, let us call it equation 4 with equation 2, okay, so comparing 2 and 4, what you get is what is b? B is minus sin phi. There is an a also here, so there is an a, let's expand this, a cos omega 0 t plus phi. So you have to multiply both terms with a. Yeah. Okay, so the expression for x we are trying to expand. X is a cos omega 0 t plus phi, and I am expanding like this. So what is b? B is minus a sin phi, right? B is minus a sin phi. Look at equation 2 and equation 4. Okay, you have a coefficient of sin omega 0 t is b. Here the coefficient of sin omega 0 t is minus a sin phi. Okay, sin phi is also there, so minus a sin phi. And what is c? C is a cos phi. Okay, so once you have these two, if you square and add, okay, you get b square plus c square is equal to a square. Sin square phi plus cos square phi is 1. So a is square root of b square plus c square. Okay, so that's the relationship between a, b and c. And what about phi? To get phi, what you can do is you take the ratio of b and c. So b by c is minus tan phi. A will cancel, so which implies phi is tan inverse minus b by c. Okay, so we can see that we have just introduced in equation 3, we have introduced two constants a and phi, which are connected to the earlier constants b and c. Okay, so we will be using the standard form x equal to a cos omega 0 t plus phi. Okay, and how do we evaluate these constants? Okay, in order to evaluate these constants, we need the initial conditions. Okay, so we know how to use these initial conditions. We have used it before in Newton's laws of motions. Uh, Newton's laws of motion. So let us apply initial conditions here. So what are the initial conditions? So there are different ways of specifying initial conditions. So one choice is I don't assume that it's the only choice, but this is one choice. So at time 0, um, x of the position and velocity at the time 0 are given as x is given as x of 0 and x dot or velocity is given as v of 0. Okay, so the initial conditions, suppose one choice of initial conditions are the position and velocity at the time 0. Suppose they are given. We are giving some general notation. Suppose the initial position is x of 0 and initial velocity is v of 0. Suppose they are given. So if they are given, if we know this initial position and initial velocity, we can express these constants a and phi, okay, in terms of these initial constants. Okay, let us see how this can be done. Let us start with our standard expression. X equal to equation 3, x equal to a cos omega 0 t plus phi. Okay, so then we apply these initial conditions. So the general expression is x of t, x at any time t is a cos omega 0 t plus phi. Okay, now we also need x dot. Okay, so x dot at any time t, x dot means dx by dt. So let us differentiate this with respect to time. Then derivative of cos omega 0 t is omega 0 t plus phi is minus sine omega 0 t plus phi. So minus a, and this omega 0 also will come out. So we get, okay, so cos omega 0 t plus phi derivative is minus sine omega 0 t plus phi, and the coefficient of t will come out, omega 0 also will come out. So this is it. Now, so we have got position at the time t and we have got velocity at the time t, x dot at the time t. Now in these two expressions, let us apply the initial conditions. So for position, if you apply the initial condition from here, if you put t equal to 0, okay, what you get? So the position at time 0 is given, it is x of 0 is equal to, so when you put t equal to 0, we get x of 0 is equal to a cos phi. And in velocity, if you put t equal to 0, x dot at t equal to 0 is called v of 0, is given as v of 0. And that's equal to minus a omega 0 cos phi. Okay, so we have got two equations involving a and phi here also, and we have got these values. X of 0 is given. Okay, suppose x of 0 is 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, and v of 0 is given. It can be maybe the particle starts from rest, so v of 0 is 0. Maybe particle starts from some position with a velocity, let's say 2 meters per second, so v of 0 is 2. So this x of 0 and v of 0 has some numerical values, it's given. So by solving these equations, we can find a and phi. Okay, let us see how we can do this. For example, if we can okay, we can write this as x of 0 is a cos phi, and we can divide second equation with omega 0. So we have v of 0 by omega 0 is minus I think I have made a mistake here. This term is, second term is sine phi, right? Okay, this is sine phi. See, the expression for velocity involves sine function. Okay, there is sine function here. So when you put t equal to 0, you get sine phi here. So when you divide v0 with omega 0, second term is minus a sine phi. Now it is only, we can square and add. Therefore we get a is equal to square root of x of 0 square plus v of 0 by omega 0 square. That is a. And if you take the ratio, okay, we get phi is equal to tan inverse v of 0, there is a minus sign also, v of 0 divided by omega 0 x of 0. Clear? So this is how we can evaluate the initial, these constant, unknown constants a and phi using the initial conditions. Okay, if you use the expression involving b and c, for example, you go back to this equation 2, and you can this is x of t, and if you differentiate you get x dot velocity also. If you express this x and x dot in terms of b and c and put the initial conditions, then you will get b and c in terms of x0 and v0. Okay, we can also compare, see, we know that a is expressed in terms of b and c like this, phi is expressed in terms of b and c like this. Then you can compare with this, and then you can see that what is b. You can see that b is minus v0 by, from this you can see phi is tan inverse b by c. So naturally b is minus v0 by omega 0, and a is x0. Okay, this is clear from here also. A is square root of b square plus c square. Actually b is this value v0 by omega 0. So you can look at these two terms. This is b and this is v0 by omega 0 is b, and a is x0. Okay, so no, c is x0. Okay, so you can directly get this from this expression also, from equation 2. You have to differentiate equation 2 and then put the initial condition. So you can find out the value of b and c directly from equation 2, or you can compare with expression for a and phi in terms of b and c with the expression for a and phi in terms of initial conditions, and we can get the value of b and c. So the point is that whether you express position in terms of these unknown constants b and c, or in terms of this a and phi, there are two unknown constants. Okay, because it's this equation 1 is a second order differential equation. In order to get it involves d square x by dt square. In order to get position at the time t from acceleration, we have to integrate twice. So while integrating twice, there will be two constants of integration. So these constants of integration either appear as b and c or appear as a and phi. So there will be two unknown constants of integration, and in order to evaluate these constants of integration, we need two initial conditions. So one choice of initial conditions is what is the position at the time 0 and what is the velocity at the time 0 here. But this is not the only choice. Okay, another choice is another choice is, it need not be the position and velocity at the time 0. Okay, you can have position and velocity at another time or some other time, and you can have at some given time some given time, it need not be time 0, some given time position and velocity can be given, or position at two different times can be given, okay, or position at one time and the velocity at another time can be given. So the point is, two independent pieces of information should be given, okay, to calculate this unknown constants a and phi, or b and c. Okay, so this is one choice. So a usually given choice is what is the position and velocity at the time 0. That's why we use the term initial condition. What is the position and what is the condition at initial time? So this, as I told you, the other choices can be position at two different times, right? Or position at one time and velocity at another time. Okay, but position and acceleration at a given time cannot be given. That's not useful, because position and acceleration at a given time are connected by equation 1. You can see that acceleration at a time t and position at a time t are connected by a differential equation. They are connected by this equation, so it means that they are not independent of each other. So two independent pieces of information should be given, and that's why that we generally call as initial conditions. Okay. Now let us as I have told you, we will be using the standard form. Position at any time t is given by a cos omega 0 t plus phi. So let us give some familiarize ourselves with the terms here. Okay, so position at the time t, we will be using this form a cos omega 0 t plus phi. Okay, if we plot this with position as a function of time, okay, this is a cosine graph, so it goes like this. Okay, now this maximum displacement from the equilibrium position, okay, this is the equilibrium position. We say that displacement is 0, so the maximum displacement from the equilibrium position will be a when you plot this. Okay, and this is the maximum displacement from the equilibrium position. This is called the amplitude of oscillation. It's a maximum displacement from the equilibrium position, this height. And omega 0 we have already seen. Omega 0 is square root of k by m. This is called frequency, or more correctly angular frequency, and its unit is radian per meter, sorry, radian per second. Okay, it's expressed in radian per second. Then what about this? Now this term omega 0 t plus phi, this angle of the cosine term, this is called phase of oscillation, phase or phase angle of oscillation. And this constant phi, okay, we can call it either initial phase, because this is the phase at time 0, or this is also called phase constant. Okay, and next is the period of oscillation. and we know that the period of oscillation is the time after which the oscillation repeats itself. Okay, so so from the figure we can say that it is the time period between two identical points of oscillation. Okay, so we can say that it's a time period between this point and this point. This is the time period we can say. Okay, these 2 points corresponds to maximum displacement above the equilibrium position, um, or we can say it's the time interval between this position, this point and this point. Okay, this is also time period, because here we have a so at this position we have zero displacement. That means it's the particle is at the equilibrium position, and again it comes back to here. Here it has a zero displacement. It's in the equilibrium position. That means from the maximum displacement it comes down to equilibrium position, and then it goes to displacement in maximum displacement in the opposite direction, then comes back to equilibrium position, again maximum displacement in the other direction and comes back to equilibrium position. So this position and this position are identical positions of vibration, and the time interval between them can be called time period. Okay, so here this is also time period, this is also time period. We can say the time interval between this position and this position. Okay, this is also time period. So in general it is the time interval between two um, identical positions of oscillation. Okay, so these are the so what is the connection between angular frequency and time period? And the relationship is time period is equal to 2 pi by omega 0. Okay, or angular frequency is equal to 2 pi by t. So this t is called time period, or simply period of oscillation. There is another term called frequency of oscillation, or circular frequency of oscillation, and this is frequency, we use the symbol nu for that, and this is omega 0 by 2 pi. Okay, or we can say omega 0 is equal to 2 pi nu, and this is called circular frequency, or simply frequency, and this is expressed in the unit hertz. Okay, when you compare time period and frequency, it is clear that frequency is reciprocal of time period, or time period is reciprocal of frequency. Okay, time period has the expression 2 pi by omega 0, frequency is omega 0 by 2 pi. We don't use the term circular frequency normally, we simply call it frequency. So angular frequency and frequency are different, and they are connected by this equation. Omega 0 is 2 pi nu. So these are the basic terminology related to the expression for displacement at any time t for harmonic oscillator. Okay, now let us look at the energy values of harmonic oscillator. Harmonic oscillator has both kinetic energy and potential energy. So first let us consider the kinetic energy at any time t. So kinetic energy we can write as half mv square. So that's equal to half m. What is the velocity at the time t? We have an expression here. See, this is velocity at the time t. So square of this one, we have a square omega 0 square sine square omega t plus phi. Okay, a square omega 0 square sine square omega 0 t plus phi. Okay. Now here in this term, this m omega 0 square we can write as, where is it? See, look at here, omega 0 is square root of k by m. So omega 0 square is k by m. So when you cross multiply this m times omega 0 square, this is k square. So this expression I can write as half k square a square sine square omega 0 t plus phi. So this is the kinetic energy at the time t. Okay. And what is the potential energy at the time t? Potential energy, let us assume that the potential energy corresponding to equilibrium position is 0. Okay. Then potential energy corresponding to a displacement x is half kx square. I think here I have used yeah, this is not correct. M omega 0 square is only k, right? Because see, omega 0 is square root of k by m, so omega 0 square is k by m, m omega 0 square is k, so there is this square is not required here. Okay, so potential energy is half kx square. Let us substitute for x. So this is half k. Again, remember that in order to write potential energy as half kx square, we have to assume that potential energy corresponding to equilibrium position. When x is equal to 0, potential energy is 0. Okay. Otherwise, the expression will be half k into x minus x0 square. Okay. If we assign some potential energy corresponding to equilibrium position, some non-zero potential energy corresponding to equilibrium position, then we have to write change in potential energy as half k. Potential energy at any position x as half k into x minus x0 square. So here we assume that the potential energy corresponding to equilibrium position is 0. So potential energy corresponding to a displacement x is half k x square. Now substitute the value of x. Position at any time t is this one, a cos omega 0 t plus phi. So if we substitute that value here, we have a square cos square omega 0 t plus phi. This is potential energy at the time t. So we have kinetic energy at the time t, half k a square sine square omega 0 t plus phi. Potential energy at the time t, half k a square cos square omega 0 t plus phi. So let us find out the total energy. So total energy at any time t is equal to the sum of kinetic energy plus potential energy. Okay, and this is equal to, if you add these two, half k a square is common, sine square omega 0 t plus sine square omega 0 t plus phi plus cos square omega 0 t plus phi will be 1. So we get half k a square. Now this is a constant. Total energy at any time t is a constant. Now this result shows that total mechanical energy is a constant, because k is a constant and a is the amplitude, which is a constant. So total mechanical energy is conserved, and this is a general result. Remember that our harmonic oscillator is an ideal harmonic oscillator. There is no friction. That means the only force acting on the harmonic oscillator is a spring force or elastic force. This is a conservative force. Therefore, total mechanical energy has to be constant. Okay, we will see that this is not so in the case of damped harmonic oscillator. When friction is present, the situation is different. Now let us consider how to calculate the average value of these harmonic functions. Okay, so let us first consider what is the meaning of the average, time average value of a function. Okay, so how to calculate time average value. Suppose we have a function of time. Mm, yeah, suppose the function varies like this. We want to find out the average value of the function between the times t1 and t2. Okay. Now this average value can be considered as average value of the function can be considered as the average height of the plot of this function. See, let us consider that suppose the average height is this. Okay, we use the notation. We use this angular bracket to represent average value. So this we use this notation f average is equal to identically equal to this symbol. We call it angular brackets. Okay. Now suppose the average height of this function is this much, then we get a rectangular area here. Okay. So the idea is that the average of the function is the average height in such a way that the area of this rectangular section is the same as the area under the curve. Okay, this is approximately same. Visually we can see that. So what is the area of the rectangular section? Average value of the function, which is the average height, into so the height of this rectangle is average value of the function, and what is the base of the rectangle? T2 minus T1, the time interval, right? So this should be equal to the actual area under the curve. We know that the area under a curve is the integral of that function. So the area under the curve is integral T1 to T2 f of t dt. This is the area under the curve. So the idea of the average of a function is this. It is the average height of the plot of a function in such a way that the area of this rectangle, which is the average height into the base, the time interval, is equal to the actual area under the curve, which is the integral of the function. Okay, so from this we can get an expression for the average value of the function. So the time average of a function is given as the time between two time intervals is given as 1 by the time interval into integral of the function in these time intervals, between the two time intervals. This is the expression for the average value of the function, time average value of a function. Okay, now in this why we need this discussion is, see, we have expressed the position. Look at this position, instantaneous position of a harmonic oscillator in terms of a cosine function which depends on time, instantaneous velocity in terms of a sine function. Okay, and further we can see that the kinetic energy at any time t is given in terms of sine square theta, sine square function. Suppose this omega 0 t plus phi is considered as some angle theta. So this potential kinetic energy depends on sine square theta, potential energy depends on cos square theta. Okay, so sometimes we want to calculate the average value of position, average value of velocity, average value of kinetic energy, average value of potential energy. So we will have to evaluate average value of sine theta or cos theta, or sine square theta or cos square theta. Okay, so for that we can use this expression. Average value of any time dependent function we can express like this: 1 by time interval between any two time intervals. We can calculate this like this: 1 by time interval integral t1 to t2 f t dt. Okay, now as I told you, often we want to calculate the average value in the calculation of harmonic oscillations. We may have to calculate the average value of sine theta, cos theta, or sine square theta or cos square theta over one period of oscillation. Okay, so how do we evaluate that? So we can use this expression. So average value of let us say sine omega t over one period of oscillation will be, we can say 1 by capital T integral 0 to t 0 to capital T sine omega t dt, right? T2 minus T1 is capital T, one time period. We want to calculate the average value over one time period. Okay, I'm simply using this expression. Okay, so we want to calculate the average value of sine omega t. So our function is sine omega t over one time period. So I take the initial time as 0, then the final time will be capital T. So T1 is 0, T2 will be capital T. So we can write it like this, right? Or we can, more generally, we can write it as, let us say we can integrate from some initial time t, then the final time will be after one time period, the time will be t plus capital T. So the time interval is still one time period. So integration can be from some time t to t plus capital T. Okay, sine omega t dt. So we can start at any time t. After then, time period is the time for one cycle of oscillation. So if you start at any initial time t, the final time will be after one cycle. Okay, so t plus capital T. So T1 here in this case, T1 is capital T, small t, and T2 is t plus capital T. So this expression or this expression will give you the average value of sine omega t over one time period. Okay. Similarly, we can find the average value of sine square omega t, cos square omega t, etc. So this is the analytical way of calculating that. I'm not going into this calculation. This I will give you as a homework. Let us look at a graphical way of easily finding the average value of sine omega t, sine square omega t, etc. And we know that this omega t is angle. So let me plot sine theta. Okay, let us replot it. So so the plot of sine theta is something like this. We know that. Okay, so let us see what is the, okay, so this is the angle 0. This corresponds to pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, and this is 2 pi. Okay, so we have one cycle here. Okay, let me remove this one. Consider only one cycle. So if we draw for one cycle, okay, and this value here, this is plus 1, this is minus 1. So what is the idea of average value of sine theta over one period? Okay, what is the geometrical idea? It is the average height of this function such that the area of the rectangle, okay, remember our figure here, average height such that the area of this rectangle, that is the average height into time interval, should be equal to the area under the curve. Okay, so if you look at this, the area under the curve, okay, in the first half cycle, the area is positive. In the second half cycle, the area is in the opposite sense, it's negative. Okay, so we can say that when you take integrate over one cycle, that means the integration is from 0 to 2 pi in terms of the angle. Then the total area under the curve is 0, because in the first half cycle you have positive area, in the second half cycle you have negative area. So if total area is 0, then the average height also should be 0, because when you multiply this average height into the interval, here the interval is 2 pi, okay, in terms of the angle, you should get the area under the curve. Since the area under the curve over one cycle is 0, so average value sine theta over one cycle should be 0. Okay, That means the value that I have expressed here, sine average value of sine omega t, I have used two expressions in terms of 1 by t 0 to t sine omega t dt here, okay, or in the more general expression 1 by t some integral t to t plus capital T sine omega t dt. If you do this integration, you will see that this result is 0. Okay, you can do this analytically. You might have done this before, you can try to do it again, and here it is 0. Okay, average value sine theta, geometrically we can see that it is 0. What about sine square theta? Okay, if you plot sine square theta in the same interval, what you see is that okay, in the first cycle you have positive, in the second cycle also you have positive value, second half cycle I mean. So this is 0, pi by 2, pi, 3 pi by 2, 2 pi. Both half cycles are positive, and this height is plus 1. Okay. So here again the average height into the width, which width is 2 pi, width of the in terms of the angle is 2 pi. So average height into 2 pi should be equal to the area under the curve, right? So we can see that these two half cycles are symmetric, right? So in order to get the area under the curve, the average height, the width of the first half cycle is pi, second cycle is also pi, second half cycle I mean. So the width of the first half cycle is pi, second half cycle is also of the same width. So when you look at the first half cycle, the total area under the curve must be double the total area under the curve of the first half cycle, right? So in order to get the area under the curve of the first half cycle, the height should be half of this one. Okay, so the average height should be only 1 by 2 of this one. So we can geometrically we can see that average value of sine square theta should be half. Okay, only then we can say the average height into the width 2 pi, we will get the area under the curve. So this is the value of sine theta. So similarly for cos theta also we can say that average value of cos theta over one cycle is 0. Similarly average value of cos square theta over one cycle is 1 by 2. Remember that we are doing this calculation over one cycle only. Okay. If it is half cycle or some other time interval, it will be different. So over one cycle, this is the situation. So I have geometrically calculated, written down the average value sine theta or cos theta over one cycle. Similarly, sine square theta and cos square theta, average value sine theta and cos theta over one cycle is 0. Average value sine square theta and cos square theta over one cycle is 1 by 2. Analytically, you can do this calculation. In the same way, I have written the expression for sine omega t here. Similarly, for sine square omega t also, you can do the calculation. You will see that it is 1 by 2. Okay, you can do that. Okay, now with this idea, let us calculate the average energy. Okay, you have the expression for the instantaneous energy here. Okay, let us calculate the average value of kinetic energy and potential energy from here. Okay, so from the instantaneous value of kinetic energy, what is the average value of kinetic energy over one cycle? So here this half k and a square are constant. So essentially what you have to calculate is average value of sine square omega t plus phi. Okay, this omega t plus phi is some angle. So basically it is like average value of sine square theta. And we know from the previous discussion from the previous graphical analysis, we know that average value of sine square theta is 1 by 2 over one cycle. Okay, so average value of kinetic energy is 1 by 4 k a square. What about average value of potential energy? It is half k a square. the time dependent quantity is cos square omega t plus phi. So we need to calculate the average value of cos square omega t plus phi. Okay. Again, it is like average value of cos square theta, which is again 1 by 2. So that is the result is 1 by 4 Ka square. Okay. So we have this result. Average value of kinetic energy over one cycle is 1 by 4 Ka square. Average value of potential energy over one cycle is 1 by 4 Ka square. That is, average value of kinetic energy is equal to average value of potential energy, which is 1 by 4 Ka square. Okay, and this is half of the total energy, right? So 1 by 2 of half Ka square. Half Ka square is the total energy. Okay, so this is half of the total energy. See, this is the expression for total energy, half Ka square. So 1 by 4 Ka square is half of the total energy. We get a result like this. So here we have used the idea that average value of sine square theta over one cycle is 1 by 2. Similarly, average value of cos square theta over one cycle is 1 by 2. Okay, I have graphically shown these results, but analytically you can try the calculation. Similarly, for sine theta and cos theta also analytically you can show that average value of average value over one cycle is 0. Okay. Okay, so we have considered some basic results in harmonic oscillator today. We have considered, remember, we have considered only ideal harmonic oscillator without any friction or damping. Okay. So we started with the basic model, Newton's second law. Okay, if you look at equation 1, the basic differential equation for simple harmonic motion, d square x by dt square plus omega 0 square x equal to 0, where omega 0 is the angular frequency, and it can have a general solution either in terms of b and c or in terms of a and phi, and we will be using this a phi standard form, a cos omega 0 t plus phi form hereafter. We can also use a sine omega 0 t plus phi, that's not a problem. Then we can evaluate these unknown constants a and phi in terms of the initial conditions, right? One choice is at time 0, position and velocity are given. X is position, initial position is x0, initial velocity is v0, then a and phi can be evaluated in terms of x0 and v0. Then we have considered different nomenclature related to all these terms. A is the amplitude, omega 0 is angular frequency, and omega 0 t plus phi is phase at any time t. Phi is called phase constant, and this time period is the time taken to complete one cycle of oscillation, and essentially it is the time interval between two identical points of vibration, two identical vibrational points, you can say. So we can evaluate this time period at different points. So if we start at any time t, okay, let's say at this time t we start, then we will have to consider the next identical point of oscillation will be here. So from this point to this point, it will be time period. So any identical points of oscillation. So again, time period is the time taken to complete one cycle of oscillation. Then time period is related to angular frequency by this relation 2 pi by omega 0. Omega 0 is 2 pi by t. You should keep in mind all these results. Then there is another frequency called circular frequency or simply frequency in terms of hertz. Angular frequency is in terms of radian per second. This is in terms of hertz. And it's connected to angular frequency by this omega 0 by 2 pi, or omega 0 is 2 pi nu. And nu and time period, frequency and time period are reciprocal to each other. And instantaneous kinetic energy and potential energy we can write like this, and if you add them you will get total energy is always a constant. This should be so because in the absence of friction our ideal harmonic oscillator is a conservative system. The force here is elastic force or spring force, which is a conservative force, so total mechanical energy should be constant. Then we discussed how we can calculate time average of a function. Okay, the idea of average value is the average height of a function or in the plot of a function. So the time average we can calculate like this: 1 by time in between any two time interval, 1 by time interval into integral of the function in this time interval. Okay, and in particular in simple harmonic motion, since we deal with sinusoidal functions, we will have to use these expressions. What is the average value of sine theta over one cycle? What is the average value of sine theta or cos theta over one cycle? What is the average value of sine square theta and cos square theta over one cycle? And we see that in the case of sine theta and cos theta, average value of one cycle is 0. For sine square theta and cos square theta, it is half. Graphically we can easily see that. Analytically we can calculate it like this. Okay, I have not written down the expression for sine square theta, but you can simply replace sine theta by sine square theta. Similar expression you will get. Analytically you can do the calculation. Okay, and we have used this result to calculate the average value of kinetic energy and potential energy over one cycle. We see that average value of kinetic energy equal to average value of potential energy equal to 1 by 4 K square, that is half the total energy. So this completes the discussion on the basic results of ideal harmonic oscillator or undamped harmonic oscillator. Okay, in this chapter, then after this we will be discussing what is the effect of damping or friction. When we introduce friction, what is the change? Okay, of course total energy will not be constant. So what is the change in these expressions? So we will discuss damped harmonic oscillator, and then we ask the question, what happens to a harmonic oscillator if we introduce some driving force, some applied force? What happens when an oscillator oscillates under a time dependent force? That's called a forced harmonic oscillator or a driven harmonic oscillator. Okay, so these are the two major topics that we will be discussing, and these are important in realistic situations, because an ideal harmonic oscillator, even though it's important as an ideal case, it's not realistic. In a real situation there will be damping. Okay, sometimes there will be oscillations under a driving force, time dependent force, so like in electromagnetic wave. Okay, so under these situations how harmonic oscillation changes, that we have to study in the next classes. That's all.